A long time ago, the elephant had no trunk. He had only a blackish nose as big as a boot. He could move it from side to side, but he couldn't pick up things with it. But there was one elephant, an elephant's child. He was full of curiosities, and that means he has so many questions. He lived in Africa, and he filled all Africa with his questions. He asked his tall uncle ostrich why her tail grew just so, and his tall aunt the ostrich spanked him with her hard claw. He asked his aunt the hippopotamus why her eyes were red, and his aunt the hippopotamus spanked him with her hard hoof. He asked his tall uncle the giraffe what made his skin spotty, and his tall uncle the giraffe spanked him with his hard hoof. He asked his hairy uncle the baboon why melons are so sweet and juicy, and his hairy uncle the baboon spanked him with his hairy paw, and still he was full of curiosities. One fine morning, elephant's child asked a new fine question. What does the crocodile have for dinner? Then everybody said, "Hush!" in a loud voice, and they spanked him for a long time without stopping. Later, he came up to a colourful bird and said, "Everybody has spanked me for my curiosities. And still I want to know, what does crocodile have for dinner?" Then the colourful bird answered, "Go to the banks of the great, green, greasy Limpopo River and find out." The next morning, the elephant's child took melons and bananas and said to all his dear families, "Goodbye, I'm going to the Limpopo River to find out what does crocodile has for dinner." Then he went away, eating melons all the time, till at last he came to the banks of the great Limpopo River. The first thing that he found was bicolored python rock snake. "Excuse me," said the elephant's child, "but could you kindly tell me what does crocodile has for dinner?" And the bicolored python spanked him with his long tail. "That is strange," said the elephant's child. "Everybody has spanked me for my curiosities, and I think this is the same thing." So he said goodbye to the bicolored python rock snake and went on eating melons and bananas till at last he came to a log lying near the Limpopo River. But it was really the crocodile, and the crocodile winked one eye like this. "Excuse me," said the elephant's child, most polite, "but have you seen crocodile anywhere about?" The crocodile winked another eye like this. "Come nearer, little one," said the crocodile. "I am the crocodile." Then the elephant's child said, "You are the crocodile? Will you kindly tell me what do you have for dinner?" "Come nearer, little one," said the crocodile, "and I'll tell you." Then the elephant's child put his head down close to the crocodile's mouth, and the crocodile caught him by his little nose. "I think," said the crocodile, and he said it between his teeth like this, "I think today I will begin with the elephant's child." The elephant's child speaking through his nose like this, "Let go, you're hurting me." Then the python came down to the bank. The elephant's child pulled and pulled and pulled, and the crocodile pulled and pulled and pulled, and the elephant's child's nose began to stretch. Then the python went round the elephant's child's leg and pulled and pulled and pulled, and the elephant's child pulled and the crocodile pulled. At last the crocodile let go of the nose. Then the elephant's child said, "Thanks you," to the python. He put cool banana leaves around his nose and put it into Limpopo River to cool it. "What are you doing that for?" asked the python. "Excuse me," said the elephant's child, "but I'm waiting for my nose to shrink." Then you will have to wait a long time, said the Python. Some people do not know what is good for them. And the elephant's child sat there for 3 days waiting, but his nose never grew any sharper. At the third day, a fly came, and he hit that fly with the end of his trunk. Advantage number 1, said the Python. I wonder if you could do it with your nose as big as a boot. Try to eat a little now, said the Python. And the elephant's child put his trunk and took a lot of grass and put it into his own mouth. Advantage number 2, said the bicolored python rock snake. I wonder if you could do it with your nose as big as a boot. Don't you think the sun is very hot here? It is, said the elephant's child. And he took some mud from the banks of the Limpopo and put it on his head. Advantage number 3. Well, said the python, you will find that your new nose is very useful. So the elephant's child went home across Africa. One evening he came back home to all his dear families. They were very glad to see him, and he said, "Come here, we will spank you." Poof, said the elephant's child. I don't think you know anything about spanking. But I do, and I'll show you. And so he did. They said, where did you learn that? And what have you done to your nose? I've got a new one from the crocodile on the banks of the Limpopo River. It looks very ugly, said his uncle the baboon. Yes, it does, but it's very useful, and he spanked all his dear families for a long time. At last his dear families went off in a hurry to the banks of the Limpopo River to get new noses from the crocodile. And when they came back, nobody spanked anybody anymore. And since that day, all the elephants had trunks like the trunk of the elephant's child.